Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas, and this is another episode of Unscripted. Welcome back. It's been a good week. Busy, but interesting. I honestly had a lot of movement this week. Very busy on that note. I'm going to talk about a few things. I actually had some development with the script I've been working on, and that I will be directing, but also this one may just be one I'm letting somebody else direct. So I'll talk about that, but interaction I had this week with some other filmmakers that are deeper into the business was very, very healthy. It was very good, and it was very eye-opening, and it was really cool. But to start this off, I do want to mention some of these quotes that kind of stood out to me this week. They're not quite stoic quotes. These are Bukowski, so it's a little change of pace from my usual fare. But anyways, his first quote that I read that really stood out to me this week was, "If you stop having fun, you're already dead." I think that's something that, when you get into this business, maybe you think like, I don't know, you got to be a certain way or do a certain thing. And like, honestly, like I remember the reason I like doing filmmaking is like, I enjoy doing it. Time passes easy when I do it. Same with writing I love doing it. And for me, that's what's so fun about it, is that it's not just like, I like making and creating and doing art, or whatever you want to call it, this medium, which I think filmmaking is, one of the higher forms of art. But yeah, I enjoy doing it. I like having fun doing it. And it's like what gives me that drive to live life. So I think that's a really good one. And then if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. I get it. It's a little bold, but I think what he's trying to say is like, if you're going to try and do something, like, go all in. Like, life is short. Fuck it. Throw your hat in the ring. And if, it works out, great. If not, it's okay. Because, at the end of the day, no one's getting out alive. And everyone's going to get old and look like fucking shit, and you might be rich, you might be poor, but when you look back, I don't think you're going to give a fuck about any of that. You're going to think like, did I do what I wanted to do when I had the time to do it? And, I had a buddy of mine, he's in Canada, my buddy Mike Felico. He actually listened to the pod, and he told me that he was, low key fucking inspired by like the motivation that I was talking about, like, the time is now. And he's been doing stand up, and he was telling me how, just even hearing the pod, and he heard it from another comedian that was famous that he talked to, that told him like straight up, like, you're not already out doing stand up every night and practicing the craft and trying to get yourself out there. And it's like, he told me like, between you and maybe that incident, I'm assuming that motivated him as well, because he mentioned it. It's like, yeah, like his regret was that he hadn't started sooner. And like, it's neither here nor there. He's out there grinding and doing it, but you got to start. And you got to start fucking now. And whatever you're doing, if you want to be a cinematographer, go out there and start filming shit. Film anything. Go film your friend's shit. Go film that person that's looking for somebody. Just go out and do it. I think people get caught up in like, maybe like the monetary aspect or like the professional aspect. And it's like, fuck, everyone who's a professional now started off doing the exact same shit that you're going to be doing right now. You're going to eat some shit. This is a little bit of an aside, but I remember hearing J.J. Abrams talk about when he was in like college or like, post-college in his 20s, and how he would go and write, and he would write. And then he would go out and he would end up drinking at the bar with some buddies, and he'd hear people saying like, oh, I can't wait to fucking make my movie and work on my screenplay and blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, man, every time I come to this bar, these guys are talking about doing it. He's like, I just got back from writing. I'm out from writing. I'm taking a break from fucking writing. And he said he'd go home and he'd write, and he's like, a few weeks later, I go out and the same group of people were just talking about like, oh, I'm going to get started. It's going to be the best thing ever. And like, I think for a lot of people, sometimes the idea of doing something feels so much greater than actually doing shit, because actually doing shit's hard, and it can be boring, and it can be fucking just exhausting, and you can have creative burnout. I've been there, I get it, but you always come back to like, hey, like, and especially if this is like your, passion or the thing you really want to do in life, you want to make a career out of like creating, filmmaking or whatever it is. It could be stand up, anything. You always come back to it, even after the burnout, even after the failure, even after the non-success. You become driven even after being beat down. And that's really, really like, it's a major key to success. So I think what Bukowski's trying to say in both those quotes is have fucking fun. Because if you're dead inside and not enjoying life and actually fucking making art and doing the things that you love to do, what's the fucking point, And that's a very nihilistic way to look at life. And I don't like that. I'm an optimist. I was reading that being an optimist makes you live fucking longer. So put on a fucking smile and go out and face the day with 110%. I know some people don't like hearing that either, but give it 110% with whatever you're doing. kindness is free, being cool and chill is free. Just be good to people and fucking have fun, because, you know, life is short and you got to enjoy it. If you're going to be alive, fucking enjoy it. And his other quote, if you're going to try and go all the way, otherwise don't even start. I think he's just saying, like, look, if you want to do it, just fucking do the damn thing, man. And I think that's a good place to start this. Anyways, this week was good. I had a very, 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 very good phone call with a really cool director. Hopefully he doesn't mind me name dropping him in here, but I will probably end up fucking doing it down the line. But anyways, I have a buddy that wants to be a co-lead in the next film. His name's Dominic Piccinini, and my brother Stephen Ray Thomas and him would be acting and leading this film. It's called Cork. It's a pretty sweet script. I wrote it. It's kind of like a group of friends are. Well, you know what? I'm going to say the pitch, but I will say this: it has to do with wine country and kind of people working at a winery. And anyways, the idea is it's been done. I had it written. I wrote it, I think, the week before Peninsula Nights actually premiered. So it would be like, we're talking like June 1st to June 8th, 2024. I just banged it out. I was so fucking anxious for this premiere. And Stevie was just like, hey man, like, just why don't you write something? And I wrote it. And honestly, like, I think I've done like 3 or 4 drafts on it. And even the 4th draft, like, is pretty cool. The movie, this is a very validating experience, but I had the movie go. Stevie and I have been putting together a, proposal for this director. His name's Sean Paul Piccinino. And I don't know if you guys have had the chance to see it, but like California Christmas was one of his big movies. And he makes more mainstream films. So coming from the indie world, and he has an indie background for sure. The guy he's a fantastic fucking director. He really is a self-made man. Talking to him, I actually got to hear more about his story, and maybe I'll get him on the pod, but he was a really, really cool dude and salt of the earth. You don't know how people are going to treat you in the business when you start talking to people that are like, the big dogs. But this guy, let me give you a little background on him. He put out this movie called California Christmas, I think 2019, 2020. He was one of Netflix's first original films. I think he was the first feature film to shoot during the pandemic. So he had massive success with that. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's a holiday movie. He made California Christmas 2, and then he went on to make so many other films that have been on just the Netflix platform and beyond. But yeah, it's crazy. We ended up sending this guy the script because, we're thinking, you know what? We want to get a pro to come in on this particular screenplay. And he was humble, gave us a call, and the call was fantastic. We ended up talking about, it was, first and foremost, he asked about the screenplay. He gave it a very, very nice compliments. And like, look, when you are writing something, you don't know how it'll be received. You always think like it's pretty good. And then when you go to share it, you're like, well, fuck, like, here's a real testament. Like, is someone going to even read? It is a 110-page script. He read every page. I could tell just by the way he talked about it. He genuinely took the time to read this thing. And that was very validating. And you know what? It's not like I literally, this is the first time I've had something like 0 notes ever on like a pro call. And I was just, it was very, very nice to have somebody just, read your work and be like, hey, this is quality. And you know what, if we get into production and there's changes that need to be there and I need to do like a fucking another pass on the script or rewrite a scene here, add a different joke there, that's just a part of the fucking game. I get that. But, and you got to be a team player. If something needs to be changed because it's not working, or like, hey, like this needs to be different. Like, that's just how it's like, what's that thing? I think they say it in The Social Network. It's like fashion is never finished, right? Or whatever. That's kind of how like filmmaking is. Like, you write the movie, you go to film the movie, you change shit while you're filming, then you go into the editing room and you fucking redirect and remake the movie a 3rd time. It is, you write it, you make it, then you fucking edit it. And that's the real last, rewrite. You go into the editing room and you change this thing. But anyways, back to Sean Paul Piccinino. Very, very fortunate to get in touch with him. He really liked the screenplay. We're working on just getting the dates and everything together, but that's a tentative film we may be working on with him soon. So it was really, really cool. When we talked to him, he did also give us very encouraging words. He said he's been in this business a long time, probably 20 years, 25 years. And he said, the people that have made it in this business aren't the most talented. They're not the most beautiful. They're not the most handsome. It's the fucking people that stick with it. He said, I've seen the most talented guys, better than him, better than anyone, as far as his opinion, just they get to that age where they're like, hey, I don't know if I can keep trying to do this, or I don't know if this is for me. And he says it's the ones that continue to do it. And, I talk about this with Stevie quite a bit. There's an attrition rate in Hollywood where, and I think we even heard Harrison Ford talk about this. People get to the age around 30 and they start thinking like, fuck, it's the, do I want to do filmmaking? Do I want to have the fucking, American dream with the family and shit? Do I want to try and do both? It's a tough call. But you know what? I think, and this man's a family man. So like, I think, even he's made it work. And I think it's just sticking with it. When you feel like it's so close, but so far away, you're probably way fucking closer than you think. And even if you're over 30, I don't care if you're fucking 40, man. You want to try and fucking do filmmaking? Give it a shot. I always said this when I was making Peninsula Nights. I always said this to Stevie and Christine. Rian Johnson made his first movie when he was 30 fucking 2. He made Brick. Big Sundance movie, had Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't remember what year. I want to say 06. But think about that. This guy was, I think, 2 years older than me when he made his first movie. And he is one of the biggest fucking directors in the world. He's done Knives Out. He did The Last Jedi. He's done, I think he produces that Poker Face show. God, he did Looper. The guy he's a machine. He makes fantastic films. He's a hit director. And he even is working with the same DP he was working on back when he was 32. And it's just crazy. Like, you have no idea how your fucking career is going to go in this business or who you're going to meet. I didn't think I'd be talking to this guy about making the script that I wrote last year, but look where we are now, and that's the beauty of it, dude. And this guy was very generous with his, knowledge and his experience. And it was so good to connect with somebody who he is the, leader of the current generation and, his field. And it's just crazy. This guy was just doing like a fucking another movie he told us he was filming at the Palms in Vegas, and just to even be filming on a location like that and stuff, it's major shit. So it was really cool, and he came with so much respect, and we had a lot of respect for him, obviously. But it's just nice to know that when you are doing the work and the work is good and people recognize that, they will treat you with respect. Hollywood can be a mean town. You can have the fucking watch tappers and the fucking rolling their eyes at you and being like, what the fuck are we even doing in this meeting? And I've been in those meetings, dude. They suck. But this was probably one of the best meetings I've had, just as far as like, meeting with someone who's truly, I would say, conquered fucking Hollywood. I mean, Netflix, in my opinion, is kind of the, it's the crown jewel right now in Hollywood. And there's the legacy studios, of course, but he, I think he said in 2019 or 2020, whenever California Christmas came out, I think it was the most streamed movie on Netflix that year. So to have somebody that has had that much success, acclaim, and pretty much like climb the Hollywood mountain, not just once, but multiple times, give you, kind of the pass and say, hey, not too bad on that screenplay. And, that's very validating. So for any of you out there just writing and you feel like this thing is just like, maybe it'll sit on a shelf for a while before it gets made, don't worry. Someone's going to read it and you're going to get that recognition or that validation that you need. And it's not like you need it, but it never fucking hurts. And I'm not going to lie. And he didn't stroke my ego or any of that. Just, it was nice to hear from one professional to another, from one filmmaker to another on that note. Be nice, kind, honest, and just, kind of recognize that. It is very nice. It was a great call. This week I got to watching quite a bit of movies. I actually revisited Psycho. I love Psycho. I've watched it a bunch. Every time it hits very hard, and it's always a good movie. And this time around, it was just really, really good to watch because I noticed how defining this movie was. Not just of a time and a place, but of like the American horror scene. I've been watching a ton of horror lately, but I was casually going through Netflix. I saw Psycho was on there, and it's like one of those movies, like when you see it, you're like, yeah, fuck, I'll just throw it on. You can't just throw on Psycho. I'll say this. Psycho, 1960, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. If you don't know it, you got to see this thing. And if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. So you have zero excuse not to watch this, and your life will be better after having seen it. This movie I put on, like I said, I threw it on casually. It was late night. I'm talking maybe like after midnight. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'll listen to a little news. I'll put on fucking a movie. Like I said, there's no just watching it passively. It just immediately, the score comes in, the credit sequence, it grasps your attention. Even fucking 64 years after this movie's come out, it is as good as the day it came out. I'm in. It shows, the intro, they're in Phoenix, the two lovers, and blah, 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 blah. I won't fucking reiterate the entire movie, but man, what a film. Shot in black and white. You could have shot color. Hitchcock chose to shoot black and white. Adds to the just creepiness and emphasizes how fucking, I don't know, just it added to the suspense, the tension, everything about it was just such a right choice for a movie. And like, there's rare modern films where they decide to shoot black and white, but back then I think it was so close to when black and white switched to color. I think he's just like, fuck it. You know what? I've shot black and white many times, and you know what? I'm going to do it again. And this time though, it was with like pure intention, which I think was pretty cool. This time around though, I really, really saw how outstanding the screenplay was. Norman Bates, Anthony Perkins playing Norman Bates. I can't believe he didn't win a statue for that. I'd actually went back and I'm like, God damn, I don't really know his career outside of Psycho. And this time around, his acting stood out more than ever. And I guess he was in some movie before, like maybe 3 years before, that was like a Civil War pick. And I think he was trying to win, or not win. He was nominated rather for, I think, Best Supporting Male Actor. And yeah, whatever he was in before, I got to watch that flick, but like it probably well deserved that attention and that laud. But for Psycho, I mean, the movie, I don't know if it even won any Oscars, but regardless, it doesn't matter because that doesn't fucking determine whether this thing was good or not. I noticed just how good Anthony Perkins was, all the acting all around, the Arbogast Private Eye, fantastic. He was just, the characters were so well written in the sense that like everyone was smart. No one was the dumb, passive character. Everybody came with a lot of intent. Everybody was cunning. Everybody was trying to gotcha moment the other person. Also, Norman Bates' dialogue when he talks to, God, I believe her name's Marion in the film, the main lady, he talks to her about this conversation about being like trapped in your daily lives and your routines. And if you know the premise of Psycho, which I'm not going to ruin the film, but like, this woman steals $40,000 and she heads off to California from Phoenix to California to go and meet up with her lover. And she ends up staying at this Bates Motel where Norman Bates works. And Norman Bates' dialogue is like, it's alluding to his own personal life and his own personal problems, but it translates to her, like what he's saying so much to her situation. Like she's built her own trap in life by taking this money. She's made her own bed by doing the things she's done. And it's like, it's really unavoidable if you're that type of person or you do something bad. Or for him, it was more about like his situation. It's hard to talk about it without ruining it. Obviously, I don't want to spoil Psycho, but like he's a killer in the movie. So he's got his own reasons to be like saying these things. But the way it translated to her, I was just like, God, that's just genius fucking writing, So they were playing off each other, and that was very, very, very well done. And the whole movie just, for a movie from 1960, it holds up. This thing could go fucking re-release in theaters today and probably be better than half the shit out there, maybe even more than half. And it just really makes you appreciate just good filmmaking. I mean, obviously Alfred Hitchcock is well appreciated. I actually used to live in Franklin Village in Hollywood, and I would walk to Birds every day, maybe grab a beer or something. But yeah, it was just, there's Hitchcock themed fucking restaurants even still existing today. So think about that. This guy's impact was so massive, and his movies are so fucking good. And it's interesting, Hitchcock has a little bit of like local attachment to my like hometown region, I guess I'd say. He's filmed over at the San Juan Bautista Mission, and kind of like local spots that like if I see him in the movie, I'm like, it's just weird. It's always weird to see something that, you frequent so often. I'm not going to the Mission every day, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's shots of like the highways and stuff leading into that area that's like, wow, I can't believe that's like so close to home. But I digress. Another movie I watched this week, revisited at least, was Mean Girls 2004, directed by Mark Waters, written by, I believe, Tina Fey. I'm pretty sure she penned it. But I mean, look, everyone knows fucking Mean Girls. I wasn't planning on watching Mean Girls. We were watching something on YouTube, and Mean Girls just happened to be on YouTube for free. And I was with Christine and Stevie, and like the thing it just rolled on, and I was like, fuck, you know what? It's not that fucking, it's a casual movie to watch. We all just kind of like, the first 10 minutes I was kind of tuned out. And then like, I think it's doing something in the kitchen. And then like Christine started saying like, oh, this movie's so good, I remember it. And like the music's iconic. You see Lindsay, you see fucking Rachel McAdams. I mean, man, Tim Meadows, Tina Fey's in it. The whole fucking cast was stellar. And anyways, this thing rolls, and like, it reminds you of how movies used to kind of be. I don't mean that movies are bad now, but I feel like, in the 2000s, they were still shooting everything on film. you had a really premium director every time. Like everything was just like, no one was going to war without the general, without the fucking good script, without the good fucking DP, the great talent. No expense spared when it came to making a hit film in Hollywood at the time. So I appreciate it for that, but I also think like just the movie has grown to be like a true classic. I can't believe it's been 21 years since this movie fucking came out. Dude, that's fucking crazy. 21 years. This thing held up like it was made yesterday. And it's funny too, watching it, it was just so on point to the time. It truly captured like that 2000s party lifestyle. I don't know. It just reminded me so much of what it was like when I was growing up. Obviously, some changes because it was like a little bit before I was in that like party era of high school. But like America has its own. The teenage lifestyle in America is quite honestly like it's probably unlike anything else. And I think like I've heard this even from Christine because she's actually from Puerto Rico, and she's mentioned to me like, or not just mentioned to me, she's mentioned to like Stevie and I like, high school is not like how it is in America. Like we have like the parties and I see in Europe, this isn't her example, but for example, if I had to see it through eyes that weren't just like, domestic, I know in Europe they have red cup parties where like people buy solo cups and they'll probably throw on a fucking cowboy hat or some shit and they'll be like, hey, it's an America party. And I think it's just so funny because like that's how popular our culture is, that people want to like emulate it at a party. They have an 80s party in America, or like a Jersey fucking Shore party where everyone dresses, Jersey Shore, Gatsby. I see that's a big one, whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. But I think it's just interesting that, America has such a defining teenage lifestyle and culture. And Mean Girls obviously is just fucking under a magnifying glass. And I think it just, you can just see like people haven't changed in the sense like people always usually stay the same. That's why things are so timeless. But Mean Girls really captured that era and it did it so well. And I don't know, just revisiting it, I got the little nostalgia burst, but I also see like, I think movies like that could be really popular again right now because I think people like would like to see how America is without being like, I guess, overproduced. It's hard to say. I guess what I'm trying to articulate is that it feels like movies now, everything is very like, it feels like a simulation. I haven't seen something very like, or authentic to like the teenage lifestyle in a minute. Maybe something will come to me like, timepieces like Stranger Things, they capture the 80s, what I assume what it was like pretty well, right? And you always see those memes. It'll say like, the thing that all 80s movies gets wrong is that everything was brown in the 80s. It's like, I get that. Like, I've seen the fucking old interior decoration of the 80s, but like, we like to romanticize the 80s in film and hear the fucking good music and see the neon and blah, 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 blah. See a fucking shopping mall that's alive and well. And I don't know. I think Mean Girls, for what it's worth, captures that 2004 era very, very well. The music, the outfits, fucking everything, and like I said, no expense spared on that film. They made it so good. And honestly, I think this film, if it was re-released today, would be controversial because they did really like, they didn't hold back. They discussed like pretty tough topics, bullying, kind of girl on girl crime, if you want to call it that. It is about mean girls, about girls trying to fucking sabotage each other. I feel like in today's culture, like you get canceled if you try and act like that, or be that big of a bitch. Like, you'd probably get like, I think the equivalent today would be like cyberbullying or some shit. But like, I don't know. I think people are a little soft and sensitive these days, and this movie would just fucking upset people if they made something even of that same metric, But anyways, Mean Girls was a fucking great rewatch. If you guys are looking to watch something you haven't seen in a minute, it's free on YouTube. Can't get much better than that. If you fucking have nowhere else to stream, throw it on. Also honorable mention, just Lindsay Lohan's acting. She was great. I grew up watching Lindsay. I remember fucking, she might have been one of my first celebrity crushes, dude. Like Parent Trap. You gotta be kidding me. Who didn't fucking love Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap? Also, the fact that they were like not twins, when I heard that, and like my parents were like, well, it's the same actor. Like fucking mind fuck when you're a kid. You're like, they got her to be duplicated? Like, how did they do that? I literally thought they cloned her as a kid. But that's the imagination of a child. You think completely broad stroke. And yeah. Anyways, Mean Girls. If you haven't seen it, you must have been living under a fucking rock. But if you haven't seen it in a while, go rewatch it. Honestly, it held up and it was so good. Maybe it's not quite a Psycho, but fantastic movie regardless. And something to throw on Sunday afternoon. Won't disappoint. Another movie I got to watch is On the Line 2022. It says it's directed by Romuald Bolanger. He's got a hell of a name. I would have gone by Ron Bow. No, I'm just fucking kidding. But no, anyways, hope I got that right. This is a Mel Gibson movie. I hadn't seen it. I'd heard about it and been recommended it by a few people. And anyways, the premise is basically like Mel Gibson works at like a fucking radio station as like a midnight kind of radio talk host. And it was mostly like a confined location film, like where it takes mostly at place, almost entirely at place at this guy's kind of like building that he does his radio show at. And anyways, I don't want to spoil it because it is such a, like a suspenseful thriller. But if you haven't seen it and you like movies that are very contained, it's not quite a Reservoir Dogs, but I'd say in the vein of, like not even Room. I don't know what to say. It is a confined movie. It's not like Saw either. It's just like one of those movies where most of it takes place, like 90% takes place in this, studio slash like LA office building. But anyways, Mel Gibson's really good in it. And all the actors for that reason, or on that note, were actually just fantastic. It's kind of about how he does like a radio show where he talks about like romance and love, and people call in, and he gets a caller on the line that is threatening him, and ends up like becoming kind of a cat and a mouse game. And it was really good. I don't, like I said, like I like modern cinema. There's definitely like the hits, and then there's kind of like, oh, like, is this just like a paycheck movie for somebody? Because Mel Gibson's around that age. I respect Mel Gibson fully, and I understand like, people got to make money, and he's a commodity to some extent. When you go out and you try to like, he's at the point where like he could do a project that he really loves, but he could also do something for money, and it could kind of be like, hey, like if that one's not a hit, that's okay, because that's not the one I'm trying to make my brand. This one fit into his brand and was also very good. And I also saw he's an EP on it, so I think that he probably believed in the idea and also wanted to be in the idea. But that being said, he's a standout performer every time. I've always liked the motherfucker. I loved him in The Patriot. I can't remember what year that came out, but dude, The Patriot was one of those movies I saw very young, and it was probably one of the first R-rated films I saw. It was very graphic. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of like a gory Revolutionary War film. It really discusses like kind of how the forefathers and like, mostly the people, the common folk of America fought the British and, helped form our country, which is it's a fucking beautiful movie. And if you like love America and you love the Revolutionary War and just like the story of how America came to be, you can't fuck up. Like it's probably the greatest movie in regards to that I've seen about the Revolutionary War. And yeah, Mel Gibson's performance in that movie, even as a kid, I was just like, wow, like that's acting. Sometimes you watch a movie and it just like makes you really like appreciate the craft. And yeah, so I've always held him in pretty high regard. Also as a director, he's fantastic. Passion of the Christ is a great movie. It's very hard to watch because of it's just intense, and like there's some like scenery or imagery rather of like the devil and like demonic shit, and like it's haunting. Like, whether you believe in that or not, it is a powerful film. And like, yeah, Mel Gibson, like his acting holds up. I think he's, it's cool to see an actor age and be good at what they do their entire life. He's not phoning it in. This guy, like, he acts because he fucking loves it. He does it because and maybe for directing as well, any of his filmmaking endeavors, the guy does it because he loves it. Look, I know Mel Gibson can be a controversial fucking guy. I've read the good, I've read the bad, the ugly. I try to separate the art from the artist, and regardless of what you think about Mel Gibson, the motherfucker can act, and he's a fucking great actor. He's sharp as a tack. He looks good as an older man too, in terms of like his like fucking like silver hair. We're like looking at him, I was like, dude, this guy like he looks like he is fucking like taken care, to say the least. And like I think it's like a big thing actors emphasize on is like staying like your body is kind of your fucking tool, right? That is your face, your fucking physique. It's part of your craft, and it's like important to like treat yourself good. And like I'm sure he's had some wild nights and fucking, et cetera, et cetera. But no, dude, he looked good. He's aged into like this new persona where he's like this adult tough man. And it was a cool role for him, being like this radio host. I'd never seen him in something like that particularly. So it was a fucking great film for him. And it pays off pretty well. When I first watched it, I was like, oh, whoa, this is the payoff. And then it gets you. So that's on Netflix as well. So like, honestly, like I'm not like a huge, I mean, dude, everyone's on fucking Netflix, but I think sometimes I see movies on there, I'm like, okay, pass. This one is kind of a late night pick. I wanted an action movie to just kind of fall asleep to. Once again, there was no falling asleep on the line. It is like, it's not even a slow burn. Right when it gets you and it grips you, like it's just all the way to the end. You just can't get this thing, can't get away from it. You just don't want to stop watching. And those are the movies when it's gripping and it has that hook that gets you at that, like, 15 to 20 page mark. You're getting close to the end of the first act and like it takes off. And some movies take off way faster, but this movie particularly, like it gets to one scene where you're like, oh, I'm definitely watching this whole fucking movie. And I was very impressed. So if you like Mel Gibson and you like kind of like suspenseful thrillers that it doesn't have to take place at one location, but like in this case it does, it's confined. It's very good. And it's also pretty chill for like an action movie. Like as suspenseful and thrilling as I'm making it sound, there's some chill ability to it. If you just had it on, it's not going to be like your fucking speakers aren't going to be exploding. I know it sounds crazy. Some people don't believe in falling asleep to TV. Look, I fall asleep to fucking TV every night. It's the kind of guy I am, and shame on me if that's bad. But you don't fall asleep to fucking Empire Strikes Back. Too much score, too much fucking laser fucking beam shooting. So when you can find a movie that actually is like the true sleeper in the sense that I'm gonna fucking fall asleep to it, this could fall into that category. Although it is fucking hard to fall asleep to because you're gonna be fucking so engaged. Anyways, On the Line, Mel Gibson, check it out. I was gonna say I finally caught up on all the studio episodes from Seth Rogen's show that recently aired on Apple TV. I think it's all out now. There's 10 episodes, but fuck man, the last 2 episodes were really good. The show never fails to impress me. I've honestly been constantly impressed by this show. I'm a Seth Rogen fan, so like I mentioned him at the end of like every fucking podcast on these last few, but it's because like I really do think that I followed him. Look, I followed this guy his whole career. He's worked with some of my favorite directors, Judd Apatow, Kevin Smith, himself, and Evan Goldberg as a team. And God, he's worked with was it David Mortola on Superbad? I think he worked with David Gordon Green on Pineapple Express. And oh God, let me look up this other guy. He did 50-50, but he also did All the Boys Love Mandy Lane and I can't believe I can't think of this guy's name. This guy's so good. One second, folks. Hold on. One second. I'm looking up this guy's fucking name. IMDb's not showing it here, but Jonathan Levine. Yeah. And Seth Rogen, he's had quite a interesting career working with all these people. And whether it have been like Knocked Up or some of those earlier movies, 40-Year-Old Virgin with Judd Apatow, even the shows, Undeclared, Freaks and Geeks, he's always been a standout. And God, I remember even seeing him in theaters in those Knocked Up movies, and that's like 07 and then 08. I think I went and saw him fucking Zach and Miri Make a Porno. Like he just constantly delivered, and his career just kept getting bigger and bigger. And like, I noticed like throughout the 2000s, now I'm thinking about it, a lot of the movies I did see in theaters with either friends or like whoever, it was Seth Rogen. He was a huge fucking actor during our time. And like sometimes people get big and they go away. And he's gotten just bigger and bigger, and he's honestly improved and improved. And it's inspiring to see how, like, he's just been able to mature with his brand and his style of comedy. But it's also been really cool to see how he's like, you can tell with the studio that he, and maybe I need to include Evan Goldberg a little bit more because they're, co-directing this, but to see how much like he's like gotten his mastery of the craft, whether that be him acting in it or actually like making the film, he is a master of the craft. And comedy's not easy. I think some people might write it off as like, oh, it's comedy, like it's just it's fun, it's stupid. It's like, no, it's not. Like it's a fucking high level form of art. In this movie, or the studio rather, the show, it's not just comedy. It's comedy with a nice dramatic narrative. And I don't know, there's not really quite anything like the studio on TV. I know it's getting compared a lot to Entourage. I am a fucking massive Entourage fan, but like, dude, these are 2 different animals. This is a little bit different, and not even a little bit. This is way fucking different. Yeah, it has to do with the inside baseball and like studio talk and being a part of the fucking, I don't even want to call it community, being a part of the fucking, the industry, and people want to know what it's like to be in the industry. And I think Entourage does a good job of showing what it would be like to be like that famous actor with his friends, and like maybe what happens to the friends in it. But this is coming from the perspective of like strictly the studio people. And yes, there's actors in the show, and there's awesome fucking cameos. And like these last 2 episodes, I don't want to ruin it, but like there were some great cameos. And if you haven't seen the show, It's worth the Apple TV subscription if you're not already subscribed. I'm sure you could buy episodes and shit, or maybe find it somewhere else. But like Apple's pretty strict. Like if you were gonna watch an Apple show, you better be on fucking Apple. But anyways, I digress. The payoff on this season was good. Everything ties together beautifully, and like I don't know. I think Seth Rogen's at the top of his game. Same with Evan Goldberg and the rest of his fucking team. Everyone involved in the studio is. I think it's a show that could save shows, because it's not trying to be that ultra dramatic. Like, I know Breaking Bad for a long time. Like Breaking Bad came out and everything after that was like, this is a super serious 1 hour of fucking TV drama, and like we got it. We've had so much of it. I think people are fucking good for right now, and there's always be a great show. And okay, Breaking Bad, maybe not the OG Godfather. The Sopranos probably is the hour-long drama that really started it all. But I know Breaking Bad was the one that, like, it wasn't just on HBO. It came out on, I think, AMC. Dude, for me and a lot of people, you can go and ask them, what was the TV show that made you take, like, TV serious? Probably Breaking Bad. For real. It was just one of those shows. And I remember even, like, when the premiere came out the finale came out for Breaking Bad, it was peak culture. Like, everyone and their fucking mother was watching fucking Breaking Bad. So, yeah, on that note, though, the studio, if you haven't seen it, it's Seth Rogen, top of his game. Everyone involved, all the cast members, all the cameos, it is fantastic. And I really think, like, if you're looking for something that's just, like, right in the pocket, but also interesting and new and exciting and done with a very modern take on filmmaking, the studio it's the 10 out of 10. I have no bad things to say about it, and I can't wait. It's already greenlit for season 2. So if my opinion doesn't fucking motivate you to watch it, Hollywood's already going to be giving you more, so you might as well eat up. Honestly, I think that's about all I got to say, guys. This week was pretty fucking cool. I am making movements on my own filmmaking shit aside from putting together this other movie with the boys. Yeah, did a lot of test shooting this week as well. Been going out and just fucking really just trying to get a look. I've been really working on like my aesthetic visual for like what the next film will be, and right now, the script that I have in the pipeline that looks like it's going to get made is probably this horror film and horror thriller. And yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Stay tuned, and thank you so much for fucking listening. This is the 17th episode. This is 17 straight fucking weeks of making Unscripted, and honestly, like, I can't wait to get to number 100 and just see where this all goes. Anyways, guys, I'm Devin Thomas. This is another episode of Unscripted. Have a great fucking weekend. Peace out.